This week, visiting with Jenna Beadle. She's the state director of state policy with Ohio Farm Bureau. Hi, Jenna.
Hello. Good to be here.
This week is all about the young ag professionals. They didn't get a chance to go to Washington, D.C. on their annual trip due to COVID-19, but we're kind of bringing D.C. to them, and we want to bring the Statehouse in Columbus to them as well, because a lot of the topics we just talked about earlier this hour with the American Farm Bureau Federation are things that we're trying to get accomplished here at home as well. Namely, we talk about beginning farmer legislation. We have a lot of new and beginning farmers watching this right now. There's legislation out there that could very well help them as they get started in their farming career.
Correct. So Ohio has been working on House Bill 103 and Senate Bill 159. They are identical pieces of legislation, just going through the legislative process at the same time to hopefully speed it up a little bit. But we have been working on this issue for several years now at Ohio Farm Bureau. We've had states like Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota have pioneered the way on these beginning farmer tax credit programs. So we spent a lot of time researching what they were doing, what worked for them, and how we should be creating a program here in Ohio. So what you have now is House Bill 183, and we are hopeful to see that passed by the end of the year. In Ohio, the legislature schedule is on the biennium, so at the end of every 2 years, everything resets. And so the end of this year, if that bill doesn't pass, we got to start over again. So trying to get that one across the finish line.
What's in the bill? What's it look like?
So the bill has two tax programs in it. The first would be an income tax credit for established farmers who choose to sell or lease agricultural assets to a beginning farmer, and then a beginning farmer tax credit for beginning farmers who want to participate in a certified financial management course. They can get up to $1,500 in a tax credit for them.
You mentioned getting it across the finish line. How much support is there in Columbus for these bills?
We have been overwhelmed by the support from the Statehouse on this legislation. We haven't had any type of real opposition. The biggest opposition right now is what everyone's dealing with, which is COVID-19. And, budget revenues are not coming in like they were projected to. And it's a really hard sell to ask for a tax credit and give up more tax revenue when the state has already given up billions in tax revenue.
One of the things that I talked with RJ Carney with American Farm Bureau about a little bit ago was about broadband. And it's something that has been really put to the test through COVID-19. And now we're seeing schools go back into session, universities go back into session. We're starting to see those strains being put on broadband, not just in urban and suburban parts of Ohio, but definitely in rural parts of Ohio as well. And broadband has been something that Ohio Farm Bureau has had its eye on and been advocating for some time now.
Absolutely. This has been a priority issue for Farm Bureau for several years now. And it's for all the reasons you just mentioned that existed before COVID-19. So we have seen an even greater effect because of coronavirus. But even before that, we were dealing with these exact same issues and having these conversations of rural students are at an educational disadvantage. Businesses are not attracted to those areas because there's just not the connectivity that they need. Agriculture cannot use the latest and greatest technologies that are available to them, which is becoming an ever increasing pressure for, precision ag and water quality and conservation, all those things. Even federal compliance. We've seen everyone go online, getting rid of paper forms to comply, and we've had members struggle with that. And then we've also struggled with rural health. We don't have access to care in rural areas like urban centers do. And with new innovations such as telehealth services, there's a real opportunity to be able to address some of those issues, but we just can't do it without broadband.
So we mentioned we're looking at it here in the Buckeye State, but also, as we talked about earlier with American Farm Bureau, they're working on this issue at the federal level as well. Does both the federal and the state working on similar types of projects, does that muddy the waters, or does that help maybe speed things along a little bit?
I think it speeds things up when you're looking at an issue and trying to address it from all the various ways you can do that. I think that can only help. Certainly there are lots of, in agriculture, for example, we have lots of federal programs versus state programs, and they seem to work in concert and not against each other. So I think that both the federal and state level working together is great, and having multiple funding streams available can only help the situation.
Before I let you go, you and I work very closely with mental health initiatives in agriculture all across Ohio. Talk about some of the things that have been done. COVID-19 has put a lot of stress on many people, whether they're part of agriculture or not. But in agriculture, we saw a lot of commodity prices drop, a lot of market disruption, just a lot of things have gone awry. And on top of what was already happening with the wet spring in 2019, and commodity prices have been low for a while. Where are we on the mental health initiatives, and where do you see it going?
So we have been working again on this issue for quite some time, and more on the organizational side as opposed to the legislative front. So we at Farm Bureau have coordinated a training that took place in conjunction with the OSU Extension and the Ohio Suicide Prevention Foundation, and we were able to train 200 employees of Farm Bureau nationwide and Farm Credit on mental health issues, because mental health is such a specific topic, but then being able to translate that message to our farmers is another step. And we've really done a lot of work in Ohio agriculture and on the behavioral and mental health side of things to come together and combine efforts. So Yvonne Lasisko was a pioneer in this area, and she got together with the Ohio Department Mental Health and Addiction Services, and she helped train their staff for their call line, saying, if a farmer calls you, here's what you need to be able to here's what you need to know they're going through and what you need to be able to talk to them about, which is absolutely incredible. And I love that her legacy lives on through this project. But we've also been working just as an organization to eliminate the social stigma of it's not okay to talk about these types of things. And I've seen so many posts on social media from just members and volunteer leaders within Farm Bureau saying, hey, it's okay to talk about mental health. You are more than your farm, and if you need to talk, call me. And I've loved seeing the change in the last few years.
Jenna Beadle is Director of State Policy with Ohio Farm Bureau, visiting with us this week on Our Ohio Weekly for our young ag professionals this week. I appreciate you taking time, and hope you're doing well. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. I always love talking with this group.